Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily here on the Audacity Network. As usual, if you guys want to support me and my work, we are currently demonetized on the channel, so it would be really helpful if you guys went to theaudacitynetwork.com and got either a monthly or a yearly membership on the website. All of the memberships go towards bringing guests on the show, production, upgrading sets, equipment, that sort of thing. Um, on top of that, it helps us fund some of our documentaries that we have coming up. And yeah, so if you guys want to help out, feel free. If not, enjoy the show. So today, what sparked the topic today was a video that I saw going viral on X. And this was a video of a young woman, I'm going to show it later, who was a nanny for a couple in New York. And you can see in the background that it is a nice house. And this woman is stunning. She is probably a 9 on 1 to 10, 8 or 9, attractive young woman playing with this baby in the kitchen, obviously the primary caretaker. And this is a phenomenon that I have seen across America where there are many women that are working now, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But I see that they often choose to work over spending time with their kids. So, a little backstory on me, if you don't know. My name is Pearl Davis, and I am originally from Chicago. And I was selling copiers during the COVID pandemic when I ended up stumbling onto red pill and media content. I end up moving to England and for volleyball, quitting my job selling copiers and interviewing 1,000 people. And during this interview process where I am asking people about culture, their upbringing, relationships, I found that many women and men today were raised by daycare and not their mothers. So I started researching the topic. And to US, according to Towards Healthcare, the US childcare market soared at 59.87 for almost $60 billion in 2023. And it's projected to climb in the US to 88 billion by 2033. So, what does this tell us? It could be one of two things. It could be that maybe we can't survive on one income anymore, and that's the only choice. But I've had economists and women that did stay home, and often what I've heard is that the cost of daycare is similar to the cost of childcare. So, option two is that women would prefer to chase a career rather than be mothers. And I think that if more women were honest, their choices in life would indicate that they don't really want to be mothers. So, childcare involves caring for children with their parents or guardians are unavailable. It goes beyond just keeping an eye on them. It includes providing a safe and nurturing environment where children can play, learn, and grow. U.S. childcare can occur in daycare centers, preschools, or an at-home babysitter. The goal is to support the child's development, ensure that they are happy, healthy, and learning new things while their parents are away. The U.S. childcare market is a dynamic and vital component of the nation's social infrastructure. With a growing emphasis on early childhood education and the increasing number of working parents, the demand for quality childcare services has surged in recent years. The blog aims to provide a comprehensive overview of the U.S. childcare market, including key trends, challenges, and opportunities. So, I'm not going to go too much into this, but I would just want to show some of these. Hold on. I want to see okay. If you want to show this, on the screen. This is just the projections they have. So it's around 60 million, and the childcare market is going up and up and up. And when I was in the UK, I think this is pretty common there. It seemed like every other person, like their kid was either in daycare or maybe they grew up in daycare. You can take this. Um, so I want to talk about a concept that I talked about last show. There is a difference between being married and being a wife. Now, I'm going to show you guys the nanny video. So, okay, let me make sure this isn't on 2x.
Este es nuestro primer año oficial juntos. Sí, pam, fue pam. Si no estás aquí. Primer año. Juntos. Un niño grande y fuerte. No eres un bebé. Ay, no lo puedo creer. Si quieren que les enseñe cómo hago el pudín de chía, les puedo hacer la receta. Es fácil y es delicioso y es saludable. ¿Cierto? Vamos a celebrar que estamos en nuestro primer año, ¿cierto? ¿Quién es? Esta casa. Cheers. Yummy. Rico. Para Henry. Porque es nuestro primer año juntos. Huele rico. Azuli. Esta experiencia también ha sido tan linda. Estoy muy feliz. No sé cuánto tiempo vaya a estar con Henry. Yo jamás voy a perder contacto. Yo voy a acompañar a Henry hasta que yo me muera. ¿Es cierto? Cierto. Amigos. Los amamos.
Okay, so number one, that baby is so cute. But what came to my mind when I saw this is it goes back to what we talked about last show. Wives are selfless and they spend their days thinking about others. And when you spend your day on a career, not, and I understand some people's financial situations, is what it is. But what I've found to be more common is that people want the bigger house, they want the bigger lifestyle rather than spending time with their children. So this woman is more of a wife oftentimes than the woman that's married because she's the one playing the role. And this, I don't think, is smart. I don't know if it's the smartest thing in the world to have a woman that attractive in your kitchen. And the thing that I thought of was Jennifer Gardner found out about Ben Affleck's affair with their 28-year-old nanny. So Ben Affleck is one of Hollywood's hottest actors in terms of talent and charisma. His ability to embody a character while maintaining his authenticity as an actor is noteworthy. Apart from his roles in many Hollywood blockbusters, he was in the limelight for his tumultuous love life. I know he's with J-Lo now, but this is before. So before marrying Jennifer Lopez, Affleck was in a loving marriage with 13 going on 30 actress Jennifer Gardner. Sadly, after they split, news of his scandal came to light. Back in 2016, his ex-wife, Gardner, opened up about what she knew of his affair. So again, this is a woman that looks like this. I mean, women, do we think we're better than Jennifer Gardner? And the issue she had is she's married, but she wasn't acting like a wife. And what I would see time and time again is many times when men are married, but they don't have a woman that acts like a wife, they tend to step out of the marriage. And it's not necessarily a looks thing. It's that they feel ignored and they don't feel taken care of. And when you invite another woman into your kitchen, doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, we can't really get overly surprised when that happens. It doesn't happen all the time, right? And there are some cases where you may need, it makes sense for a family. But I think the issue you get is when that becomes the kid's primary caretaker. Um, so let me go back to this. So in a 2016 interview with Vanity Fair magazine, the actress got candid about everything she knew about her ex-husband's alleged affair with the 28-year-old nanny, Christine Anuzawian, a year after her divorce. Before Affleck and Gardner separated, they seemed to have a great marriage. From heartwarming PDA moments to welcoming 3 children, Violet, Sephirina, and Samuel. The couple seemed to have it all together until the tabloids broke news of Affleck's affair. In her conversation with the publication, Gardner clarified one vital piece of information. We had been separated 4 months before I even heard about the nanny. She had nothing to do with our decision to divorce. She was not part of the equation. Gardner's confession insinuated that the two had perhaps had a lot of trouble in paradise, eventually leading to their separation. Furthermore, it suggests that maybe the nanny's alleged intervention was a coincidence. Nevertheless, it was not an easy decision or experience for her family. Gardner emphasized the aftermath of it on her children while shading Affleck, claiming he made bad judgment. Gardner added, "It's not great for your kids for a nanny to disappear from their lives." Her thoughts suggest that perhaps Auzian was pretty close with the children because of how much time she spent with them. Additionally, Gardner pointed out, I have conversations with the children about the meaning of the scandal. So, and this is kind of what you get. And this isn't just nannies, it's daycare, it's even some kids have a hard time with teachers that they're close to. When you have a adult that's spending so much time with the children that that's their primary caretaker, when they leave, a lot of times the kids struggle when they're older with attachment issues. And if you talk to therapists, a lot of them will say that this leaves, I mean, I know how we feel about trauma on this channel. I mean, it's not real, but it's not good for the kids emotionally. And this is just something that I would notice is that, and again, this isn't all, there are very involved wives and mothers out there, but all of the data is indicating that when they're given the choice, they pick the career over their children. I mean, think about how big $60 billion is as an industry. So if many women were brutally honest, I think there's many women that want to be married, but they don't want to put in the work to be a wife. And that doesn't make them bad people. It just means it's not the right role. So there's a couple of issues. Oh no, I lost this video. Hold on. There's a couple of issues too. You get when you introduce a nanny into your kids' life, a lot of times you don't know too much about the person that is spending a ton of time with your children. So, there are these stories that keep, this one.
Tonight, the fall.
There are these stories that keep coming up in the news, right? So here's one.
Tonight, the fall and the fallout. A daycare worker's move lands her in jail, and it's all caught on camera. Good evening, I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Lisa Bell. Deputies say she pulled a chair out from under a child. Now she is charged with child abuse. This happened at the Children's House of Learning on State Road 44 in Sorrento. Jennifer Ortega is there live tonight. Jen, what did the teacher have to say about this?
Well, Lisa, we actually went to her house, but nobody was home. Tonight, she told deputies she admitted to pulling the chair from under the child, but that the child did not hit his head. Take a good look at this classroom filled of children. Investigators say Belinda Greer, shown in the video wearing a blue shirt, is reading a book to the kids at the Children's House of Learning. Moments later, she gets up, walks over to a 4-year-old boy, and pulls a chair from under him. Deputies say the boy fell to the floor and appears to hit his head on the seat. You can see he puts his hands on his face and begins to cry. Greer then goes back to her
So
seat.
you have to ask the question, who are the people that are raising these kids? It's not even the parents. So what I've seen, and my sister actually, she's 19 and she worked at a daycare for 2 years. And she would tell me that she could easily tell based on the behavior of the kids whose parents were involved in their lives and who just dropped them off. And, she would tell me about kids that their parents would drop them off first thing in the morning and get them after dinner. Who's watching your kid? Maybe my sister, but you don't know who that person is. You could get a daycare employee that has some super left ideology that you don't agree with. Um, it could be a predator. It could be anybody. And even when I was in college, I would do babysitting gigs, and it would amaze me how, and I'm good with kids, right? I can watch a child, they were fine. They were good kids. But it would amaze me how little information these parents would have on me. They don't know me. They didn't even know my last name, no background check, no nothing. And they just handed me their most prized possession so they could go to dinner downtown. Uh, I mean, you can, but the more and more people do that, the more we're going to get situations like this. And this is not just a one-off. These are in the news like every other day.
And continues reading the book to the class. This incident happened back in
I'm not trying to be rude. I don't want to say it. Don't make me say it. Don't make me. No, I'm going to keep it in. I'm going to keep it in.
April. Greer was arrested and is now being charged with child abuse. We went to Greer's house to ask her what happened. But no
She's
one
not
answered the
gonna
door.
answer.
According to the arrest warrant, Greer told deputies the child did not hit his head. She went on to say she left him sitting on the floor because he was throwing a fit. Now it's still unclear if Greer is still employed at the...
Okay, so let me go back to there's a couple more I wanted to show you guys.
2 daycare workers are facing charges. One of them is accused of abusing 2 babies. Deputies say the abuse resulted in fractures in a baby's leg. The incidents were recorded on video at Time of Wonder Academy in Tampa. Fox 13's Aaron Mesmer is joining us now live at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Aaron, you spoke with the co-owner of this facility today. Tell us what she said.
Well, Kelly, just like many of us, she couldn't believe her eyes as she watched that video, and she is glad that the people involved were arrested swiftly. At 8 a.m. on September 8th, a security camera at Time of Wonder Daycare in Tampa recorded a worker lifting a 1-year-old out of a motorized swing by his wrists and placing him hard onto the floor. Investigators say doing so caused the child to fracture his tibia and fibula, 2 bones in his leg.
I can't believe somebody can do that one with a child.
Neither can Hillsborough deputies, but as surveillance video shows, it didn't stop there. At 11 a.m.
Oh my goodness. That one was just playing on her phone.
Detectives say Yamirka Menendez hit that same child in the head while he was in the electronic swing. Later that same day, Menendez is accused of slapping a 4-month-old and yanking that child's leg during feeding time. Bianca DeAndrea, the daycare's co-owner, was on the verge of tears as she discussed the video.
I spent more hours with these children than the parents. That video is a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
The sheriff's office was notified after the 1-year-old's mother took the child to the hospital.
Jared, she said, I spend more time with the children than the parents. So who's influencing the kids? Do the kids belong to the parents or do they belong to the states?
Hospital because of the leg injuries. Menendez faces child abuse charges.
I understand that we are human, but I cannot understand that you are and behave like an animal.
Milagros Rodriguez is the woman who was in the daycare room with.
Don't make me say it. This is a new leaf, Pearl. You have a new leaf. Don't say it. Don't. Nope, nope, nope.
Menendez, she's charged with failure to.
Their faces all look the same. They all look the same. They have the crazy eyes. They have can you guys not pick that out? The psychopath? They all have it. They all. Okay.
Report the abuse. DeAndrea is furious with the workers.
Of course I am. I feel embarrassed because it's like it happened in my house.
She says she still trusts the rest of her employees, and she hopes the parents of other children there do too.
This is why you got to put a man in charge. If there was a man in charge, he would not just trust the other employees. There would be some sort of, but not all men and not all women, and that's just ignore that.
You guys, parents, you are my eyes. Any little thing I have to know because we are here to protect children.
And Diario says that both women passed strict background checks and had no prior arrests.
And it's crazy. I've had people give me their kids with no background check. None. Now, don't get me wrong. Those kids were great. They were fine. But it actually amazes me how unprotective people are of children. It even amazes me when I see women post their kids on the internet, knowing that the internet is full of weirdos, pedos, all of this stuff. And men, I've seen men do it too. I've seen both genders do it. But, sorry. But it amazes me. There's so many crazy people on the internet, and you're posting personal information about your kids. And it's one thing when they're adults, right? Or they're close to adults, but they'll be 4 or 5 years old, and I've seen them post temper tantrums of kids. Don't kids deserve privacy when they're growing up? Let me check the chat really quick. Sorry, guys. Sometimes I forget to pull you guys up because I have one screen. What? Oh, I think I've seen that. That was in England, right? Full story of the.
Many words will be used to describe the crimes of Lucy Letby, and there is a question that will also be asked many times. Why would she? Why would a nurse whose job it was to care for babies murder and harm them in the hospital where she worked? There is a reality, I think, that we may never really know the answer to that. I was in court as Lucy Letby gave evidence. She didn't give us an answer. She said all of this was a conspiracy against her, that she did nothing wrong. But there are other questions where I think there will increasingly be a demand for answers.
Oh gosh, she did nothing wrong.
Like, how was she able to do this? And should she have been stopped sooner? This is the morning of Lucy Letby's arrest.
Oh, Lucy, is it? Yes. Hello, my name's Chester, please. Look, it's step in 2 seconds.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, thank you.
The smile's gone, and she's in handcuffs a few minutes later.
Yeah, not a problem.
A nurse who murdered babies, Lucy Letby has always denied and never explained.
I'm just going to put you in the back seat over here.
Now guilty of using her job.
Someone said people are searching for babysitters on Marketplace. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was found on a Facebook page. I could be anybody. Here, my most loved and cherished possession. I'm going to go downtown to the city. Here, random college girl, all the time. So many of my friends. And it was in like a wealthy area, my college. So you could make such good money doing it. And it would always be on Saturdays, so you just put the kids to bed early. And I'm thinking, you guys have no idea who I am, but you know.
To kill again and again.
Just take a seat in there for me, Lucy. I'll move that seat forward a bit. Sure.
Yeah, I've just had knee surgery. So.
Oh, right, okay.
Lucy Letby was entrusted to protect some of the most vulnerable babies.
Let's see if there's like a quicker video of this. Yeah, guys, this is amazing. Oh, a timeline.
She is not the first NHS serial killer, and Lucy Letby.
She's not the first one? There was more than one? How many?
Is unlikely to be the last. Beverly Allett, Harold Shipman, and Colin Norris were all convicted of murdering their patients. And as with Lucy Letby, in each case the authorities were asked, why weren't they stopped sooner? Dr. Shipman targeted those who trusted him, elderly vulnerable patients, and injected them with morphine. The bodies of 9 of his victims were exhumed as part of the police investigation. He was jailed in 2000 and killed himself in prison 4 years later.
She has been found with a quantity, that much, insulin in her.
Elderly patients were also the target of Colin Norris, a young nurse who went rogue. In 2008, he was found guilty of murdering 4 and trying to kill a 5th. But the closest comparison to Letby is perhaps Beverly Allett, also a nurse in her 20s, also working on a children's ward, this time in Lincolnshire. In 1993, Allett received 13 life sentences for the murder and attempted murder of infants.
And we thought we'd try and look at this to see how big the phenomenon was.
Criminologist David Wilson has studied doctors and nurses who become serial killers.
Okay, when are we going to get to Susan?
The person who kills within a healthcare setting has already developed the desire to kill before they join.
Response. And they all realised that the common factor for each of them was Letby's presence on the unit.
The first 3 babies died in June 2015. Senior managers agreed to hold eviction in 1993, criticised the speed of the hospital's response. Again, there are comparisons with Lucy Letby. At the Countess of Chester Hospital, managers did not properly investigate how 13 babies had died unexpectedly in a single year, even though doctors had raised concerns. Susan Gilby took over running the NHS Trust soon after Lucy Letby's arrest.
The paediatricians were discussing, the terrible nights on call that they were having. One of them said, every time this is happening to me, that I'm being called in for these catastrophic events, which were unexpected and unexplained, Lucy Letby is there. And then somebody else said, yes, I found that. And then someone else had the same response. And they all realised that the common factor for each of them was Letby's presence on the unit.
The first 3 babies died in June 2015. Senior managers agreed to hold an external investigation. That never happened. 4 months later, 4 more babies were dead, and a staff analysis linked Lucy Letby to every one of them. By the following February, 10 babies had died, but when doctors asked 2 senior managers for an urgent meeting, they did not respond for 3 months. In June, over 2 days, 2 more babies died. Lucy Letby was on shift for both. By now, there had been 13 unexplained deaths. In September, the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health urged the Trust to investigate each death individually. That didn't happen. It was only the following May, after continual pressure from staff, that the Trust called the police, almost 2 years after the first unexpected deaths. When she was arrested in July 2018, Lucy Letby was still working at the Trust. No disciplinary action.
Do you think if the genders were reversed, that it would have gone under the radar for so long. Because she sort of has an innocent look about her where you wouldn't really expect that.
Had been taken against her.
Dyer wasn't caught for 3 decades. Who are you? I'll look it up after.
There is only one serial killer of babies that's worked in that organisation, and the executive team were not the people who were responsible for the deaths of those babies. But they had some opportunities to get to the bottom of what was happening. The reputation of the organisation and protecting that reputation was a big factor in how people responded to the concerns raised.
The months of inaction is no shock to this former NHS whistleblower and former NHS manager.
Not surprised at all. Trusts generally delay everything for as long as is possible. Now, what's fascinating here is that, like many NHS trusts in which tragedies have occurred.
Okay, I think we get the idea. So she killed. Wow. Someone said I should look up. Who's the other name? Amelia Dreyer. Okay, let me try it. Amelia Dreyer. What did she do? The serial killer Amelia Dreyer. Okay, I did not think we were going to go down a serial killer path today, guys. But hey, I'm open.
If I was to ask you to think of a serial killer from the Victorian era, chances are Jack the Ripper would be the name that springs to mind. But what if I was to tell you there was a serial killer operating around the same time whose crimes were arguably much, much worse? On a scale much grander, with means much more insidious and victims much more innocent. Today, we're taking a look back at the crimes of old Mother Dyer. Amelia Elizabeth Dyer nee Hobley was the youngest of 5 siblings born in the small village of Pyle Marsh near Bristol. For most part, her young life was bright. She was the daughter of a master shoemaker and was lucky enough to learn to read and write, developing a love of poetry and literature. The brightness didn't last long. Her mother suffered from severe mental illness brought on by typhus, and being the youngest sibling, Dyer was obliged to care for her ailing mother as she descended into madness. During this period, her older sister Sarah Ann died, and her mother went on to have another daughter a few years later, who they also named Sarah Ann, sadly also passing away a few months after birth. Her mother eventually succumbed to her illness, and Dyer left the family home and moved to Bristol, where she eventually met and married George Thomas. He was 59 years old, Amelia 24. On their marriage certificate, they both lied about their ages to lessen the gap, her adding 6 years, he, surprisingly, subtracting 11. After the marriage, Dyer began training to become a nurse.
Get to it. What did she do?
And during this time, she met midwife Ellen Dane, who herself was a very sinister figure. She informed Dyer of an easier way to make money by using her home as lodgings for young women who had conceived illegitimately. Life in Victorian Britain was hard for single mothers who had children out of wedlock. In 1834, the Poor Law Amendment Act removed any obligation for the fathers to pay for their unplanned offspring, leaving mothers in a difficult financial bind. This, along with the general stigmatizing of single parenthood and illegitimacy, gave rise to the practice of baby farming, wherein individuals, nefarious or otherwise, would act as adoption or fostering agents in return for regular payments or an upfront fee from the mothers. Many businesses were set up to look after the pregnant women, and upon birth, the baby would be left behind to be cared for as a nursed child. The whole situation was ripe for financial exploitation, and that is exactly what happened. If the child came from...
Okay, what did this woman do?
well-off parents who simply wanted to
I need them to get
keep
to
the birth secret, then agents would charge a one-off fee of up to £80. The vast majority of those seeking their services were impoverished, however, and they would command a fee of £5. A good yearly wage would have been around the £20 to £30 mark. So,
okay, guys, if you want me to play these, I gotta get a different video. I'm just gonna assume this woman. Let me go here. This is the most
6 months hard labour. Despite the leniency of the sentence, Dyer found it difficult going. Upon release, she tried even in a caring Victorian home. Parents who wanted to check up on the children they left behind would often come up against a brick wall. Most, however, were too ashamed to pursue any thoughts of wrongdoing they may have had. This is the world that had been revealed to Amelia Dyer, and with the birth of her own daughter and the passing of her elderly husband, she found herself in need of an income. Despite all the years caring for her mother and those spent nursing the ill, Dyer turned her hand to baby farming with sickening ease. She advertised to nurse and adopt babies in return for a substantial one-off payment along with adequate clothing for the child. She assured her clients that she offered a warm and loving home. In 1872, Amelia married William Dyer, and they had 2 children of their own. This didn't soften Amelia's dark heart. In fact, she grew tired of waiting for the poor children left in her care to starve, instead moving to kill them outright through strangulation and other means.
My God.
This was long before forensic tools were available.
So she would just get money for a baby, and then she would just choke the babies to death?
Available to the police, and so Dyer had little trouble avoiding their attention. That was until one doctor grew suspicious of the amount of child deaths he had been called to certify at her home. She soon found herself in front of a judge. Not charged with murder or manslaughter, however, but the lesser charge of neglect. She was found guilty and sentenced to a mere 6 months hard labour.
6 months? You've got to be kidding
Despite
me.
the leniency of the sentence, Dyer found it difficult going. Upon release, she tried to resume a nursing career, this being interspersed with periods inside mental hospitals for alleged mental instability and suicidal thoughts. It must be noted that these times inside coincided quite well with times that she needed to disappear from the prying eyes of the authorities. Dyer had spent time as an asylum.
Wow, she does not. I could see how she could get away with this for a while. What would you guys rank her 1 to 10? Give me hands. 1 to 10. 1 to 10. Guys in the chat, what do you rank her? 5? 6? 6? Okay.
Nurse and knew how to act to ensure a
I
speedy
could see how she's got like a sweet look. Like you wouldn't really.
trip inside at a
Okay, you can't put 0, guys. We're in America. We're in America. We are all big here. You're like at least a 5 just by not being overweight. Like, I don't know what country you guys are in.
comfortable existence therein. The baby farming had started again, but instead of learning her lessons, she simply grew more deceptive. She no longer called upon doctors to issue death certificates and instead began to dispose of the bodies. Once more, the authorities...
I mean, I cover stories all the time. Dumpsters, man. This is why I say this abortion thing, guys, it's not new. It is not new.
Authorities tried to pursue her, not least after one woman returned to check upon her child and, sensing Dyer's suspicious ways, asked to see a birthmark on the child's hip. It wasn't there, and Dyer soon moved town. This was another tactic she would employ. Once the heat got too much in one town, she fled to another, using a multitude of aliases. She would eventually end up here in Caversham, in Reading. And already separated from her husband, she would find herself a new, unsuspecting associate, one Jane Granny Smith. Now, Jane would always be referred to as mother, especially in front of new and unsuspecting parents. This, of course, was to engender a feeling of mother-daughter loving relationship, especially when they were about to hand over their child and indeed money. By now, lying and murder were second nature for Dyer, advertising her services in Bristol newspapers under the name of Mrs. Harding. She would travel to collect her latest victim. Feigning the image of a caring would-be adopter, then instead of making her way back to Reading, she would travel to her daughter's house in Willesden, London. Once there, she would use edging tape used in dressmaking, wind it around her victim's neck, pulling tightly until they were no more. She later said that she used to enjoy watching them with the tape around their necks.
She enjoyed watching them?
She would then place the bodies in bags and or suitcases and weighed down.
Oh my God, okay, you guys got me on this rabbit hole. I don't know, what is the chat on today? You guys are crazy. So, we're done with this. We're done with the serial killer rabbit hole, because this wasn't even what I wanted to talk about today. What I wanted to talk about was the trend of nannies and daycare and the issues that come with it. And I also wanted to tell how I can tell if someone's a wife or not a wife. Now, again, this is just my point of view. You can take it or leave it, but I'm gonna use the whiteboard today. So, I'll turn this on. Oh, did I press it? I think I got it. You guys are crazy. Crazy. Okay. So, let's say you have Sally. I'll give it to Santiago. I'm sorry. I don't know who that is. Well, so what sorry guys. You know, we're new to the country. We got to figure some stuff out. But what you want to look at, or I look at anyways, is I told you guys what I think of femininity. It is selflessness, right? And when you think of the role of a traditional wife, right? There's modern wives. It's not, you know, the end all be all. You can be married but not be a traditional wife. It's whose needs does she put first? Hers or everybody else's? So when you put your kid in daycare, if you have to, that's one thing. But if you're going after a high-paying career instead of watching your kids, whose needs are you putting first? If you're posting your children on the internet for the world to see, whose needs are you putting first, yours or your kids? If you're belittling your husband online, and I see this a lot, women basically using, or men too, but you know, I'm never gonna get back in. Sorry. But you see parents posting their. You sometimes see wives posting their husbands, talking about all of the things that their husband does for them as if it's a show. And men don't typically want to be in their home and feel like they're on show men tend to value their privacy. They don't really want intimate details out there like that. So when I start to see that, you pick up on patterns of behavior and you can kind of register whether they're selfish or selfless. And selfless tends to be more of the exception than the rule. Not a bad thing, right? Again, sometimes being selfish leads people to achieving many things or, you know, whatever. The other issue I've seen with nannies is they can bring on harmful, I guess, ideologies onto your kids. You don't know if they're left. You don't know if they're a different religion. They could be putting you don't know who's influencing your kids. So when I see, you know, mothers handing me their children off of a Facebook group page, is that a selfless behavior or selfish behavior? And that's usually kind of how I decipher it. But yeah, I think that's all I got for today. Let me see if I had any other videos I was going to show you guys. It's a little bit crazy out there, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. We're going to go to theaudacitynetwork.com and we're going to stream for another 30 minutes on the website. I usually just give personal stories, or sometimes I'll do a whiteboard video or whatever. So go on there, guys. Make sure you like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you next time.